everybody, Holding Ash 50 here, bringing you Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaibe, Episode 7 anime review. This was titled Muzan Kibitsu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name right. But, we have Tanjiro, and it continues off from when, last episode when his sister kicked the guy in the head and his head started spinning. We left off from that recap. And basically, Tanjiro realizes my sister can fight. She can hold her own. So basically what he did was, he told his sister, Nezuko, you stay here, you deal with him. I'm going to go into the puddle of darkness and find the other two. And defeat them and then come back. So where she's up there fighting him, he's down there and they start mocking him saying, you can't breathe down here because of the way the pressure is and stuff like that. And they started swirling around him like sharks. Unfortunately, what they didn't know is that where he trained at, the air was a lot heavier to breathe up there. And he already had a good enough amount of air that he already breathed in before he even jumped in. So he was still able to use his sword techniques. And he used a new one, water breathing 6, whirlpool. And he made a whirlpool from his blade of water and just cut them all up. And then he grabbed something in the water, which we didn't get to see what it was yet at that moment. And he went back up. And when he's going back up, Nezuko's actually fighting the original of the three demon brothers. The leader, I guess you can say. And she's doing pretty good, but once the guy catches on to her movement and how she moves, and that her attack pattern is the same, he's easily able to dodge and block. And he goes for like a scratch on her forehead to blind her. And then when he's about to go for the killing blow, of course, Tanjiro comes in and cuts off his arms. And this is when we get something interesting. The guy started speaking about, like, I have to kill these females because when they reach a certain age, they start to taste nasty and that's bad. And this upset Tanjiro, so he cut his mouth. But he was still able to speak. It wasn't like fully cut. And he started asking him about MK. Which, if you don't know who MK is, that's the name of the title. The guy, Muzan Kibitsu. I always pronounce his name wrong, so I'm going to just call him MK. But that's basically the enemy of the protagonist right now. And he asks him about him, and we get a flashback from the demon's perspective. And he starts to freak out because in the flashback, he's a pure human. And he's getting choked up by MK. And MK, we don't see his up face, we just see his mouth. And he's telling him to, shh, you won't tell nobody about me. And keep my name out your mouth, don't tell nobody about me. And if you do, I'm always going to be watching. Remember that. So, I guess after that discussion, we go back to where we are now, in the future. And basically what happens is, he starts to freak out and he starts to cry and complain. I can't tell you, I can't tell you. And he's stalling for time until his arms regrew. And he went to attack Tanjiro, but Tanjiro just cut up his whole top part. Ended him quickly. Then we had this moment with Tanjiro's about to leave, and he encourages, I believe his name is Kazumi, the guy who lost his fiance, the guy who was helping, and he gripped him up and he was like, don't tell me how to live my life, you can't tell me to move on, you don't know the sufferings I've been through. And then Tanjiro just smiled and touched his hand with his hands, and the guy started to realize, even though you look young, you have hands that are beat up and dirty and battered from war and training. So that means you must have been through a lot of bad things yourself. And he started to realize that he was talking out of context and he felt bad. And he said, sorry, I apologize. And Tanjiro was like, it's cool, just, I leave her in your care. The chick that you saved, so. And he also gave him this whole thing. It's a cloth full of hairpins. And all the hairpins in it are all the hairpins of the girl that the demons were eating. So at least he has the hairpins to give back to the, the family members. I mean, it's not really a body for them to bury, sadly, but at least it's something to memorize, the lives of their loved ones. So that was sweet. But after this, he has to go straight to his second mission, which is somewhere far in Tokyo, in a city. I forget the name of the city. I think it was Akatsuki or Asukumi, something like that. He had to go to that city, and he went there, and he was freaking out. Because, he's a country boy. Since this is his first time in the city, he was, like, getting paranoid and scared, and you saw him sweating, and his eyes were all big, and he was, like, freaked out. And he eventually left, like, not like the inner city, but he was still in the city on the outskirts of it. And he went to an udon shop, and he was there eating his order, and he ended up smelling like this really powerful scent of blood, and he dropped the his udon noodles, which at this point his sister's with him, but she's resting because of the wound on her head, so she's like she's out of it. So he leaves her there with the box, and he goes to check out the scent. And when he goes to check it out, he's saying this scent belongs to him, Muzan. So he goes and he finds Muzan, and he goes, like, he's behind him when he finds him, and he taps him from the back, and Muzan turns around and he looks at him. And, you know, we know that he's really, really upset at Muzan, because Muzan's the only demon that can turn other humans into demons. He's the cause of all this. We don't know how or why, but he is. So Tanjiro, of course, he grabs his sword. He's about to draw it just to lay hands on this guy. And this is when one of the most dirtiest things a villain can do. But it's a basic trope, but it makes sense, and I know a lot of people probably not gonna like it. But when he turns around fully, he's carrying a little girl, and she says, "Daddy, who's this?" And Tanjiro realizes this man has a family. And then his wife comes out, and she was like, "Do you know this kid?" And he was like, "No, this child must got me confused with somebody else." And where Tanjiro's freaking out trying to collect his thoughts, because he wants to slay this guy, but this guy has a family right there in front of him, he does something very interesting. Muzan, he takes out his demon claws, right? And he basically, this human that was by him, that was passing by, he technically took his claws and he scratched the guy in the back of his neck. And when he scratched him, the guy that he scratched in the back of the neck instantly became a demon and turned on his wife, who he was with. And this guy ended up attacking his wife. And that was the end of the episode. Now, we don't know if Muzan, the people he infects, we don't know if they bite anybody. Can they infect them, and does it become contagious like some type of zombie virus thing? Or does they have to be directly in contact with Muzan to become demonized? We don't know that yet. But we did get a pure example of him turning somebody into a demon. And it didn't even take a second. It probably took like 5 kiloseconds, maybe less. Instant he scratched him, dude just started spazzing and became demonized, and then attacked his wife. Not Muzan's wife, but the guy he attacked, he had his own wife, and that's who he attacked. So, but yeah, this was a crazy episode. I feel bad for Tanjiro, because like, he needs to kill this guy for humanity and to avenge his family and everyone else that, you know, died by his hands, since this guy is the one who creates demons. But it's kind of hard to kill your enemy when like his family's right there watching you, and they look like humble, nice people. So that even makes it worse to do, because it's like, in that situation, if you do draw your sword on him, you will look like the villain. And drawing your sword on a bystander, so it wouldn't really give off that impression of, oh, you're the good guy, per se. Not to mention with all these people in this big city walking around seeing this. So it's like, it's very difficult on his part and how he's gonna handle this. I have a feeling that Tanjiro's gonna be forced to fight this demon guy, and while he's doing that, Muzan's gonna leave with his wife and kid. So, and that's gonna be his way of escaping without having to battle, you know, Tanjiro. Which I'm surprised that already 7 episodes in, we finally get the main bad guy. I wasn't expecting that. I was probably expecting him like probably halfway point, episode 12 or later, to appear, but we got him pretty early, and he looks pretty bad. He looked badass. I like his character design. What he did was kind of douchey, and using his family to like as a shield, which caught Tanjiro off guard. That was the only thing that really saved him, because Tanjiro already hated him so that he had no problem drawing his sword to lay hands on him. It just, that family shield part is like got to him, and it stopped him from drawing his sword, sadly. Even though, in my opinion, I think it's too early for Tanjiro to be on a level to take this guy out. I mean, if he's been doing this for years, turning people into demons and sending them off, and we know demons get stronger by eating humans, and that's how they also survive, we have to imagine this guy is probably the strongest demon, and if that's the case, I highly doubt it Tanjiro can probably take him on anyway. So maybe it was a good idea this guy had his family with him. But it is what it is. I feel bad for Tanjiro, because it's like he has to get his emotions all together now while dealing with this situation. Plus, not to mention, a demon just appeared thanks to this guy. So, But again, episode 7 of Kimetsu no Yaibe Demon Slayer, great episode, great stuff. That's all I have for you guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, share with your family and friends. Give this video a like, follow me on Twitter, link me down below. And tell me what you liked and didn't like about the episode. And the art and animation and music is beautiful. I'm loving this anime. It's art. It's just, out of all the animes for 2019, I would have to say Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer has the best art. Just my opinion. Don't attack me. That's all I have for you guys. Peace out and have a good one.